Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people. Today is September 27th, 2021. And I want to talk about this subject here today. And basically, I want to center around if the Great Tribulation starts on the day of the flood, October 24th, Chesvan 17, what would be the end of the Great Tribulation and the second coming of Christ? Okay, and I want to base this on the two time frames that God has given to us from the rebirth of Israel. Okay, and there's some very interesting information with what I'm going to be sharing with you. So let's take a look at this, okay? Now we basically have two birthdays of Israel based on the initial Palestinian partition plan, which was the going forth of the order to restore Jerusalem. Was not the complete rebirth of Israel yet, but on November 29th, 1947, we have the Palestinian partition plan. And then on May 14th, 1948, we have the rebirth of Israel date and the day of Israel's independence and the official date of Israel returning to their homeland. Okay, so we have two dates that we can consider, and this may play into the timing of the return of Christ, the second coming of Christ, and the shortening of the days by using two different time frames, one for the rapture of the church and the other time frame for the second coming of Christ. Now let me explain. This is, I don't want to get too complicated here, but let's take a look at this. November 29th, 1947, okay, if we go forward 70 years based on the number of days, 25,200 days, which is 70 times 360 days. It brings us to November 26th, 2016. Then if we go forward 7 years from there, we have October 21st, 2023, which is November 26th, 2016 plus 2,520 days. Okay, so from the Palestinian partition plan, if you go forward in biblical years, 70 plus 7 biblical years, it brings us to October 21st, 2023. Now this is very interesting because the second of the three great American eclipses is on October 14th, 2023. Okay, then so that connects us with the second great American eclipse. That the timing of the 70 plus 70 years, the 70 plus 7 years from the Palestinian partition plan connects us with October 14th, 2023, the second great American eclipse plus 7 days, October 21st. Then we have the second date of Israel, the rebirth of Israel, May 14th, 1948. Now if we go forward 70 years times 360 days, or 25,200 days, brings us to May 12th, 2017. If we go forward 7 biblical years from there, another 2,520 days, it brings us to April 5th, 2024. Now, I find this extremely important, extremely prophetic, extremely interesting. The fact that both of the dates of Israel, by adding 70 plus 7 years, brings us to the two dates of the great American eclipses from October 14th, 2023, 7 days, and from April 5th, 2024, it's a 3-day difference to the April 8th, 2024 eclipse. Now, April 8th, 2024 is Nisan 1 on the Hebrew calendar. And October 14th, 2023 is not any specific date on the Hebrew calendar, notably. Okay. But let's just look at this. Let's consider this. Okay. So that's on the left-hand side. I shared part of this information in a previous video. But I want to look at the second side of this, and I put this together this way. November 29th, 1947, if we go forward 70 plus 7 years, it brings us to October 21st, 2023. And from May 14th, 1948, 70 plus 70 years, 70 plus 7 years, it brings us to April 5th, 2024. Okay. But let's take a look at this. If we go forward the 70 years on the Gregorian calendar from November 29th, 1947, it brings us to November 29th, 2017. If we go forward a biblical 3.5 years from there, it brings us to May 12th, 2021. Okay, I found one detail interesting here. Now, the order by Donald Trump to declare Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital, which happened on December 6, 2017, you can see that there was only a 7-day difference between the end of the 70 years, November 29th, 2017, 7 days later. Donald Trump on December 6, 2017 declared Jerusalem Israel's eternal capital. Well, from there, if we were to go forward 1,260 days from that day, it brought us exactly to May 19th, 2021, and that was Pentecost. Okay, so there's a lot of interesting connections if we, as we take a look at these dates and how it connects. Okay, and then May 14th, 1948. Going forward 70 years brings us to May 14th, 2018, and that was the moving of the embassy, the United States Embassy, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and the confirmation of the covenant and the declaration of Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital on May 14, 2018. Going forward from there, 1,260 days, a biblical 3.5 years, is October 24th, 2021. Now that is the day I am watching for the rapture of the church. Basically, within all of this time frame, this would be the next day to watch if we're considering the 70 years of Israel, taking us to May 14, 2018. So from May 14, 2018, adding 1,260 days, brings us to October 24th, 2021. I am watching this day for the rapture of the church because it is also Chesvan 17, which is the day of the flood. It's the same day of the Balfour Declaration on the Hebrew calendar. It's United Nations Day, which in 1945 was also October 24th and Chesvan 17. So you have an exact match. From there, Untied Nations Day. That might be prophetic there. United Nations Day. October 24th and Chesvan 17 in 1945. Okay, so when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction, it's according to the Book of Jubilees, it's the fall of man was on that day. That was the day that Adam and Eve fell into sin, were tempted by the enemy. Okay, and then we have the 7-day warning from Chesvan 10, worldwide vaccine mandate deadlines that are going forth in the middle of October. Many countries lining up exactly with October 15th, which is Chesvan 9. So basically, the day before Noah gets in the ark, they have the worldwide vaccine mandate deadlines, and that's why I'm seeing that as a perfect 7-day warning to be on the ark and to be ready for the day of the flood and the beginning of the Great Tribulation. Okay, now if the Great Tribulation starts on Chesvan 17, October 24th, and this is, it's always an if, all right? If This is what we're watching, and there's so many people watching different things. There's people still watching, tabernacles. We're not over with tabernacles yet. People that still think that the seventh true month is October, and they're looking for the Feast of Trumpets in October 7th and 8th. And we have, there's a lot of other perspectives, okay? So this is one perspective. I'm sharing one perspective, and I have to say because we've been watching for this time frame for a long, long time, and we've seen a lot of things come and go. Could this be it? Could there be another delay? We do not know. All we have to do is watch according to the signs that the Lord has given to us. Okay, so that's a big if, right? If Great Tribulation starts on Chesvan 17, October 24th. What would be the end of the Great Tribulation and the second coming of Christ? Okay, well, let's consider a biblical 70 plus 7 years. If we have the 70 years of Israel and a 7-year tribulation period, then we have, we're at the midweek time. We're at the midweek period from the end of the 70 years, May 14th, 1948, to May 14th, 2018, 70 years. And then we have 1,260 days, which is another 3.5 years, which leaves us with about 3.5 years here at the end, from October 24th, 2021. So we've got two perspectives we can look at how long the Great Tribulation could last if we're going to look at a 70 plus 7 time frame. Okay, 77 years. So we've got October 24th, 2021. It could go to the timing of the second great American eclipse on October 14th. And this would be a shortening of the days from the Palestinian partition plan. If the Lord uses the rebirth of Israel date to bring us to the rapture, he could use the Palestinian partition date 70 plus 7 years, and then it would be a shortening of the days by nearly 6 months time of less time of Great Tribulation. And this is a very interesting detail that I'm going to be sharing with you about this, connected to this. So October 24th, 2021 to October 14th or October 21st, 2023, okay? This is either the eclipse of October 14th, or it's the end of the 70 plus 7 years, October 21st, from the Palestinian partition plan on November 29th, 1947. Okay. Now that would mean tribulation would last 720 or 727 days. Okay. Now that would be basically 360 plus 360. That would be a biblical 2 years. That would be 2 years on the Hebrew calendar. Or if it went to the other date of, from the 70 plus 7 years from the May 14th, 1948, okay, then it could go from October 24th, 2021 to April 5th, 2024, which would be the end of the 70 plus 7 years. Or it could go to April 8th, 2024, which is, there's only a 3-day difference there. And this would be the final great American eclipse. Of the 3 great American eclipses, that's the end of the great American eclipses, and it could mean the end of the judgment on Babylon. Okay, and now that would be 894 or 897 days. So basically 2.5 years, Instead of 2 years, it would be about 2.5 years. Another 180 days, basically. Okay, so we know that Revelation 12:12 says that when the devil comes down to earth, he comes with great wrath because he knows he has a short time. Okay, a short time, I think that refers to the shortening of the days, just as it says for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. Matthew 24:22. The days will be shortened. Okay. Now, I want to look at both of these days, both of these time frames, around October 14th and October 21st, 2023, and the time frame from April 5th to April 8th, 2024. And I want to consider the following information from Matthew 24, 29 through 31, when we look at this information from the perspective of the second coming of Christ at the end of the tribulation. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with the loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Okay, so I want to look at immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Okay, we have to consider this based on this time frame from October 14th to October 21st, or from April 5th to April 8th, 2024. Do we have the sun being darkened, the moon not giving its light, and the stars falling from heaven? And I want to show you the heavenly signs on these days and see which day could most adequately fit for this prophecy to be fulfilled at the end of the tribulation of those days. The sun being darkened, the moon not giving its light, and the stars falling from the sky. Okay. So let me take you to two different websites here. Okay, I want to look at two different websites here. It's the same website. This is Astronomy Calendar of Celestial Events for the calendar year of 2023. And then I want to look at the same thing in 2024. Okay. This is csky.org and Astronomy Calendar of Celestial Events for calendar year 2024 and Astronomy Calendar of Celestial Events for calendar year of 2023. Okay, 2023. We're looking at the total solar eclipse of October 14th. Okay. Okay. Now, here is this information from October 14th, 2023, the annual solar eclipse. That happens on October 14th. We see that 7 days prior to this, there's a Draconids meteor shower. But then we have 7 days later, on October 21st, we have the Orionids meteor shower. And this is a meteor shower producing up to 20 meteors per hour at its peak. It's produced by dust grains left by Comet Halley, which has been known and observed since ancient times. The shower runs annually from October 2nd to November 7th. It peaks this year on the night of October 21st in the morning of October 22nd. Okay, so see how this lines up with the solar eclipse of October 14th, but the actual day of the end of the 70 plus 7 years of Israel from the Palestinian partition plan is October 21st. So on October 14th, we have the sun being darkened, the moon not giving its light, and 7 days later, exactly on the end of the 70 plus 7 years, on October 21st, we have the Orionids meteor shower, which is produced by dust grains left by Comet Halley. Okay. So does this fulfill on October 14th and October 21st of 2023. We have the moon not giving its light, we have the sun being darkened, and we have the stars falling from the heavens. Let's take a look at this information from 2024 and see if we have the same information, the same events taking place, okay? April 8th. Before April 8th, there's nothing more here. There's nothing leading up to April 8th. So once we hit April 8th, we have the new moon and we have the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Okay. The two dates in question in 2024 are April 5th and April 8th. And we don't have any connection to a meteor shower until 2 weeks later. Okay. The Lyrids is an average shower, usually producing about 20 meters per hour at its peak. And it's a 2-week difference, okay? Now, whereas in 2023, we're seeing the exact connection to the solar eclipse, and 7 days later, exactly on the end of the 70 plus 7 years, the 77 years of Israel, exactly on October 21st, this is the peak of the meteor shower. So you have the moon not giving its light, the sun being darkened, and the stars falling from the heavens. And this is connecting us exactly to October 21st, 2023. Okay, so when will the Great Tribulation end? Will it be 2 years of Great Tribulation? Will it be 2.5 years of Great Tribulation? This would still fulfill the 70 plus 7 years. I think, to me it seems like the shortening of the days is kind of like God's ace up the sleeve, and, he can come at any time. When he sees the end of the wrath, when he sees there has been enough judgment, he can cut that short. It does not have to. It could be even before then. Okay. I've thought a lot about what Sister Renee is sharing about 40 days of Great Tribulation from October 24th to December 4th. A couple things I just can't see with all of this. Number one, I don't think there's any way possible for all of the judgments to be fulfilled in 40 days during the Great Tribulation period. I think that's a very shortened time frame and too many prophecies to be fulfilled in that time frame. The other thing is that I do not agree with a multiple rapture scenario. If you have the first rapture on October 24th and it's only a 40-day Great Tribulation, what's the point of having a second rapture or a third rapture? I don't see a second or third rapture at any time. I think that according to Matthew 25, the 10 virgins, those who were wise and prepared with oil in their lamps when the bridegroom went into the wedding, and then the door was shut. The foolish virgins were left out of the wedding feast. And I don't see a second opportunity for the foolish virgins. I see that at the end of the tribulation, God will gather his elect. At the end, those who are still alive, who are God's, and those who have died will be resurrected at the end of the tribulation. But I don't see a place for a second rapture, and I don't see a place for only 40 days of Great Tribulation. So I think that the devil's wrath is a short time. The days will be shortened. We know that the Antichrist is given 42 months or 1,260 days. The woman is taken into the wilderness for 1,260 days. Okay? But I think that would be the maximum amount. And if we were to go 1,260 days past, let's just say. Okay, and if we were to go forward 1,260 days from October 24th, 2021, it would bring us to April 6th, 2025, and that on the Hebrew calendar would be the 8th of Nisan. Okay, so I will leave all of this information for you guys and leave the links for you for the heavenly signs of 2023, of 2024. See how this all lines up with the end of the 70 plus 7 years from the Palestinian partition plan. Could be the shortening of the days and only a 2-year Great Tribulation. And that would sound like a great time connected to the sun being darkened, the moon not giving its light, and the stars falling from the heavens on October 21st, 2023. And still we have a complete fulfillment of the 70 plus the 7 years. We have the 70 years plus 1,260 days, and we have the days being shortened, and we have the sun being darkened, the moon not giving its light, and the stars falling from the heaven after the tribulation of those days. Okay, so this is a lot of information, but I wanted to share this with you, get this out there for our study and understanding. And like I have stated, if the Great Tribulation starts, I'm watching for the possibility of the Great Tribulation starting on October 24th, Chesvan 17. That is obviously a very big if that we need to take into consideration and pray about, and just be ready always, for the rapture of the church is absolutely imminent any moment now. I pray you guys are blessed. This is Steve Fletcher with the trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.